I know more about the differences between Sweden and Norway than I do between New York and Washington. And I think investing in things that you understand, I've lived in mainland Europe for 8 years and Asia for 5, and I can't imagine doing things outside of areas that you actually understand, you spend some time and figured out the differences.
Welcome to the Leader's Edge podcast. I'm Zach Ewell, market analyst and podcast producer at Leader's Edge. In this podcast, we take you on the ground to last October, where the council held its Insurance Leadership Forum, where I sat down with Jochen Körner, CEO of Ecclesia Group, and Warren Downey, Group Chief Executive Officer at Specialist Risk Group. In our podcast, both gentlemen share how a large business deal between their two companies came to be, their thoughts on the influx of brokers entering the market in continental Europe, and how recent elections have shaped their business strategy. Let's start with the recent deal between SRG and Ecclesia. SRG acquired Ecclesia's Belgian and Dutch operations. In exchange, Ecclesia became SRG's second largest equity holder. Tell us more about how the deal unfolded and strategically why it makes sense for each of your firms.
Yeah, maybe I start. So first of all, it was a bilateral deal between the two of us and one of the investors, Warburg Pincus, and it has developed over years on the basis of mutual trust. And when I turn into why we did it, enables Ecclesia to go further and faster internationally.
Sure.
Without having all the operational risk and having to build the infrastructure which is needed to do that in Germany. And by that, concentrating our efforts in building Germany to an even larger market position. And that's why we did it. And we weren't looking around. The stars aligned. the right
we looked into each other's eyes.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think from our perspective, we were very keen not to make the mistake of, there's a few mistakes you can make in Europe,
Sure.
I guess. One is thinking it's one country. That's a good mistake. But another one is doing lots of small disjointed things across many countries and thinking it's a business. And so we were very keen to find a more transformational move, something that would be real substance, a real platform for growth.
Sure.
And Jochen and I had known each other for a while, and as he rightly says, the stars aligned, and we had a private conversation that resulted in two joys. One is having 700 new colleagues in the Belgium and Netherlands, who are all great fun and where there's lots of opportunity. But also, Jochen not only became an equity holder, but he's a board director of the company as well.
Okay.
And in a world where quite often boards with businesses that have private equity ownership are populated with bankers and sort of third-party non-insurance people, it's so refreshing to have someone that knows the industry sitting at the table with us.
Sure. And then, I kind of could you both just elaborate, I've heard trust said several times. What exactly, does that mean to your relationship?
Trust?
Yeah.
I think trust is when you can make a point without having the proof every time.
Sure.
Or
So
be
when
offended.
Exactly. When he tells me something,
Yeah.
I trust it. I believe him. And that sets the tone. Tone from the top is so important, and it sets the tone throughout the organization. And in a transaction like this is often the ultimate test whether or not you can trust somebody. And I've had the trust, and of course, trust is also developed.
Yes.
Built over time, destroyed in a second.
Yep. Maintained.
Yeah, exactly. And that's important.
Yeah, I think also you see especially as two leaders of decent sized businesses in Europe, boardrooms are often certainly not in our cases, of course, but boardrooms are often a dominant CEO dragging along other people to agree with them. And I think trust is where you can disagree on a strategic move or an opportunity.
Sure.
And it just be part of the conversation and not a win or a loss to anyone.
Yeah.
The win is trust. And the win is having the ability to have a conversation that otherwise may never be had. And the alternative is a boisterous CEO, elbowing his way to a decision that he wants to or she wants to execute.
Sure.
And this is a better way.
Sure.
In my view.
Definitely. On to my next question. Similar to the deal you discussed, we have seen some influx of brokers entering and expanding in continental Europe. Tell us why you think this is such an important trend right now. Warren, as you recently expanded into continental Europe, what's top of mind when it comes to expansion strategies? And Jochen, as a European broker, how do you react to this trend, and does it change your German strategy?
Your predominant audience, I guess, is American insurance professionals and leaders. And so I guess from that perspective, it's interesting watching US firms, their approach to continental Europe. I think that it's born out of a few things. I think first, there's a bit of a view that the UK is extremely consolidated and it's hard to find assets and targets, which is actually, I listened to an investment banker not that long ago talk about the fact there are only 600 brokers left in the UK and that there are huge barriers to entry for setting up new firms. That is completely incorrect. There are 1,800 brokers in the UK, and last year alone there were 250 new firms.
Interesting.
And there are another 1,800 appointed representative, which in our world is the classic route to becoming your own broker.
Sure.
So the view that it's all over in the UK is massively overstated.
Yeah.
That said, mainland Europe has been harder, further away, language barriers, and you see two classic, whether they're errors, time will tell, but two classic approaches to expansion into mainland Europe. One is underscale, underweight, multiple assets joined together pretending it's a business. The other is buying a good medium-sized business in a country, probably in a region within a country, and then think it's going to be the way you, to use a term, conquer Europe. When in fact they're trying to take up space in their own country, never mind crossing borders. So I also am surprised to see people invest in places where no one in their team or wider network has ever lived or worked. I find that shocking. It'll be, I know, more about the differences between Sweden and Norway than I do between New York and Washington. And I think investing in things that you understand. I've lived in mainland Europe for 8 years and Asia for 5, and I can't imagine doing things outside of areas that you actually understand. You spent some time and figured out the differences. So that's been a real interesting trend, but I do think that the opportunities are occasionally massively overstated.
Jochen,
Yes.
as a European broker, how do you react to this trend, and does it change your German strategy?
Well, first of all, I think we welcome competition. It's good for the market. Give the client choice. And we just have to be at the top of our game.
Sure.
Continue to invest, and that deal puts me into a position where I can invest further in Germany on a big scale. But ultimately, the client decides whether you're good or not. So I'm happy for anybody to come. I would like to echo Warren's words. It's easier said than done.
Sure.
And I know that the US is not one country when it comes to insurance. As the states and the regulation differs slightly.
Sure.
The cultures, yes.
Yeah.
But that's multiplied in Europe. Language, currency, regulation. Bear in mind, we don't have a capital union yet. So these are all sorts of different dynamics which you have to bear in mind. But they all come. We welcome them.
Sure. Kind of on that topic of just, different countries, different cultures, different systems, 2024 and 2025 were important election years for many countries, including the UK, which was July of 2024, and Germany, which was February of this year. Traditionally, what impact do election years and new governments have on your business?
In fact, there were 74 national elections in 2024.
Oh, wow.
Which is the largest ever on record. And I think there's two things that came out of that for me. I think one was there were a healthy number of those that chose not to continue down this inevitable path of the populist right, which is very interesting. It seemed like an unstoppable wave.
Sure.
So that's been a very interesting dynamic. Lots of places have chosen not to go that path. For me, having been through elections in the UK, it is about uncertainty, especially around economic policy and taxation. What tends to happen is, we like to help clients that are building, expanding, investing, and everyone gets nervous and kind of waits to see what's going to happen. And we're going through that right now in the UK because we're waiting for a budget shortly in October.
Yeah.
And you can't do nothing happens in the month leading up to it, not knowing what will come.
Yeah.
We all want, ours particularly, we want our government to concede whatever part of the political spectrum you come from. You need your government to succeed and do smart things.
Yes, definitely.
And I think there's a little worry around the cost of employment. There's worries around isolationism, especially following the national catastrophe, which is Brexit. But also there's a look of our government at entrepreneurs, in a not particularly helpful way. So I think we're looking forward to getting beyond that, as with elections, come out the other side with a degree of certainty for a number of years, and then continue to invest.
In your when it comes to the UK in that election, it's been the first time in a while because the Tory party was in charge for how many
14 years?
14 years. So that's, in the US, that's unheard of. It's usually 8, at most 8, and then it switches. So 14 years is quite a bit. And then,
well, if you look at the arc of UK politics, actually over time, I don't know the exact percentage, but the two frightening percentages are that actually the number of times that you have a multi-term left or Labour government is extremely rare. Extremely rare in UK history. And the other is that an extraordinary number of our prime ministers all went to the same school in the UK.
Interesting.
So those are the two things to watch out for.
And Jochen, how are you essentially navigating?
First, navigating, but being proactive, reach out, trying to develop our lobbying activities as much as we can to lobby for us on behalf of our clients. As you know, we are exposed a lot to German healthcare.
Yes.
So
we talked about that
last time. Exactly.
Last time.
The developments there are very important to us. The last government, without going into politics too much, the last government wasn't too business friendly. I think they got carried away a bit by other items. The people who voted the new government in, we are all hoping it's going to be more business friendly.
Sure.
It's promising, but a long way to go.
Sure.
While I appreciate that being a politician right now for a large country in Europe, it's tough. I mean, you have this crisis after crisis.
Yes.
You're in the midst of a war in Europe.
Yes.
Low growth environment, which levers you can pull, populists from both left and right, making your life hard. So it's I'm happy to be a broker, to be honest with you, and not a politician.
That's funny. So with 2025 almost to an end, wow, actually reading that now, that's kind of crazy to think about. How would you recap the insurance market this year? And additionally, what are you looking forward to most in next year?
So, as always, and I'm doing this now since '97, believe it or not, and got a bit used to hard market and soft market.
Sure.
And the cycles continue. It's interesting here when you speak to some of the reinsurance markets. There will be no soft market, and then they speak to the reinsurance brokers. There will be very soft market. So it's gonna be interesting.
Sounds like Goldilocks.
Exactly. It's gonna be interesting. I speak for Germany now. The net cat activity was very low this year so far. Knock on wood.
Okay.
So it's gonna be interesting. So I foresee for our clients a more competitive environment going forward into 26. So i.e. I think rates come down, or you at least have more competition for capacity.
Sure.
And you can buy higher limits. So I think if you are a buyer of insurance, either as an insurance company buying reinsurance or as a client buying insurance, it's a positive environment.
Sure.
And we as brokers have to work even harder.
I think from my perspective, I'm always interested in the relative obsession with movements in the market. And I think that's probably because in the US you have much bigger players. So there are more firms that are exposed to the whole of the market than there are in Europe, I would say. So you'll have a situation where if you're a big enough broker and rates move 4%, your numbers need to start with 4% and then you start growing. In our business, we are an aggregation of specialisms, deep and narrow specialisms.
Sure.
And in many of them, they have very local and specific market dynamics. You could have a softening market in the wider environment for 5 years in a row, and we'll still have some segments with rates going up in our difficult risk category.
Sure.
So I think the question is, how does rate impact you? Not as much how does rate impact the world. And so we've seen things go soft when the market's hard, and things go hard when the market's soft.
Sure.
And we are some way off being a bellwether or appropriate measure for what's happening in the rating environment. So I leave that to the bigger players.
Okay. And then lastly, this one is mainly for you, Warren, because Jochen answered this last time. But this is a standard question we like to ask. But yes. So Warren, could you kind of share, how you got into the industry of insurance and risk? I always find this question interesting when it comes to international people.
Yes, I think I'm very nervous of people that aim to get into the industry. When I fell into the industry.
All right, interesting.
When I was 19 years old, I was coming out of high school, kind of trying to go to university, actually in the US, and I met a guy that was working in an insurance broker that was really captured my imagination, and I knew almost nothing about the industry. But he seemed to have this sort of real zest and passion for the industry and the team he was trying to build. And interestingly enough, that person is Steve McGill, who now runs a major broker in London, and Aon before that. And so I sort of took what I thought was going to be a short-term job and left what became JLT 28 years later.
Interesting.
So one day I'm going to go to university. If they'll let me in. But I think the reality is on the rare occasions when you kind of look in the mirror and go, am I going to work in insurance the entirety of my career? You're reminded of the incredible sort of people and culture oriented business we work in, where you can build lifelong trusted friends, find ways to solve problems for clients together.
Sure.
And if you look over longer history, firms come and go, they're absorbed, they're bought, they restart, they go again. And so it's much more dynamic than the advertising would suggest. In our firm, we have a huge influx of new talent coming into the industry, and we train them as well as we can. And it's an exciting industry that often doesn't do itself justice when looking for talent.
Sure. Now that's interesting that you fell into it, because I remember, Jochen, when we were discussing, you were talking about how you grew up, you wanted to be a broker in a sense. Like
there's always one.
I wanted to be a trader.
A trader. Okay.
And broking. So I didn't fall for the intellect of Steve McGill. I felt for the secretary of which is now Marsh. She told me, when you go to insurance broking, Lloyd's of London, Marsh, New York, golden cufflinks, golden watches, Gucci loafers. I'm in.
For those that can't see us on camera, he's wearing all of those things.
Yes, he sure is. Yeah. Yes.
We're lucky to be part of the industry.
Absolutely.
And for all of the competition and ribbing we do of other people's strategies, in reality, we're kind of in it together. We owe the industry a debt, and we intend to repay it over time.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, it's been a pleasure, both of you. I know you're all busy, so I'll let you,
Thank you.
get on your way. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
That was my conversation with Jochen Körner, CEO of Ecclesia Group, and Warren Downey, Group Chief Executive Officer at Specialist Risk Group. I hope you enjoyed it. For more podcasts, subscribe or go to leadersedge.com.